What if I told you that the very thing most older men are proud of, their strength, their passion, their masculinity, could also be the reason their health, confidence, and even relationships fall apart? I've seen men collapse in the most intimate moments of their lives, not from weakness, but from misunderstanding how their bodies have changed with time. They didn't realize that what once worked in their 30s could be deadly in their 70s. That's the hidden danger no one warned you about, the silent price men pay for not knowing how to adapt. I'm Dr. James, a urologist and men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience helping men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond reclaim their vitality, rebuild their confidence, and restore true intimacy. I've spoken with thousands of men who thought aging had taken everything from them. But I've also seen the opposite, men who discovered that with the right knowledge, their later years became the most powerful, passionate, and connected chapter of their lives. Here's the truth that will surprise you. Your body doesn't end your sex life, your habits do. The same rules that defined intimacy when you were young can quietly destroy it when you're older. You were never told that the body, the heart, and the mind must now work together, and that real strength comes not from performance, but from understanding. Today, I'll share 5 powerful sex secrets that every man over 60 must know. Truths that could protect your heart, save your relationship, and even extend your life. And stay with me, because the 5th one is the hardest to accept, and the one that could save you from making the most dangerous mistake of your life. Before we begin, if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way you'll never miss another honest, life-changing message made specifically for men like you. And if what I'm sharing speaks to you, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're here and listening. If it doesn't, type 0. I truly value your feedback and want to keep improving every message for you. Now that we're ready, let's begin with the first truth, because this one quietly breaks more hearts, more confidence, and more relationships than any other. It's the mistake most men over 60 make without even realizing it, and it's the reason so many believe their best years are behind them. Secret number 1: spontaneity is a young man's game. Preparation is a wise man's power. When I was in my 30s, I believed passion should be wild, effortless, and spontaneous. But after decades of listening to men in their 60s and 70s, I've learned that this same belief has quietly broken more confidence, more relationships, and more hearts than almost any medical condition I treat. Because here's the truth, what once made you feel alive in your youth can, without warning, put your life at risk when you're older. Most men never see it coming. They go years without intimacy, then one night the opportunity finally appears. The candles are lit, the heart races, and pride takes over. I'll show her I've still got it, they think. But in that moment of excitement, their blood pressure spikes, their heart pounds like it hasn't in years, and their body, unprepared for the physical strain, begins to fail. I've had patients collapse in those moments, not from weakness, but from pride. Men who looked perfectly healthy, strong, even athletic, ending up in an emergency room because they believed they could perform like they did at 25. I remember one patient, let's call him Harold, who told me through tears, "Doc, I thought I was just being a man." I didn't know it could kill me. That night, he had pushed himself too far, too fast. His heart went into arrhythmia. He survived, but barely. And afterward, he couldn't look at himself in the mirror. He told me the worst part wasn't the hospital stay. It was the humiliation, the fear that he might never be intimate again. That's the price so many men pay for refusing to prepare. But preparation isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's checking your heart, understanding your medications, making sure your body is ready for the demands of sex just as you would before any physical activity. It's about talking to your partner, setting the right pace, and treating intimacy not as a test of youth, but as an act of care and connection. When you prepare, you protect your body and your dignity. You remove fear from the moment and replace it with confidence. The men who understand this truth live longer, love better, and carry a quiet kind of power that youth can't replicate. They don't chase the thrill of spontaneity. They build it slowly, intentionally, beautifully. And that kind of intimacy doesn't just last longer, It's safer, deeper, and far more satisfying. Because when you stop trying to perform and start learning how to prepare, you stop risking everything for one moment and start creating moments that last. Now, the next truth might shock you even more because while this one is about your heart in the bedroom, the next is about how your performance down there could actually reveal what's happening inside your real heart and why ignoring it could cost you your life. Secret number 2, your erection is a message from your heart. I'll never forget a man named David. He came into my office one quiet afternoon, half embarrassed, half joking. "Doc," he said, "I think my problem's just age. Things don't rise to the occasion like they used to." He expected a quick prescription, maybe a laugh, and to be on his way. But something about his tone, his exhaustion, his quiet fear made me pause. I ran a few simple tests, and what we found changed his life. Within 3 weeks, David was in the hospital having emergency surgery for a 90% blockage in one of his coronary arteries. The same man who thought he had a bedroom problem was, in truth, walking around with a ticking time bomb in his chest. That night, from his hospital bed, he called me and said, "Doc, I came in because of sex, but you saved my life." That's when I realized how many men die from silence. Because what most older men don't understand is that the first sign of heart disease often doesn't show up as chest pain. It shows up as a change in your erections. The arteries that supply blood to the penis are smaller than the ones that feed your heart or brain. When plaque begins to form, when blood flow weakens, it's those smaller vessels that fail first. So when you notice things aren't working like they used to, that's not just a sign of aging, it's your body whispering for help. Ignore that whisper long enough and one day it starts screaming, in the form of a heart attack or a stroke. I've seen men who brushed it off, too proud to talk about it, too embarrassed to tell their doctor. They'd hide the pills in their drawer, blame stress, or make excuses to their partners. Months later, I'd get a call from a wife or daughter saying he didn't wake up. That's the price of denial. The price of treating your body's warning as an inconvenience instead of the alarm that it is. And this isn't about fear, it's about awareness. When you address the root cause, when you protect your heart, something extraordinary happens. Blood starts flowing better, energy returns, and yes, so does confidence in the bedroom. Because fixing what's happening down there starts with saving what's happening in here, inside your chest. The truth is simple but powerful. An erection is not just a measure of masculinity, it's a measure of circulation, of life itself. So if you've noticed changes, don't hide them. Don't laugh them off. Be brave enough to face them. Talk to your doctor, run the tests, and act now. Because one honest conversation today could mean 10 more years with the people you love. And if that truth feels uncomfortable, the next one may surprise you even more. Because what I'm about to share isn't about blood flow or medicine, it's about something deeper, something no pill can fix. It's the real reason so many older men feel empty even when everything seems fine. It's the kind of hunger that can't be satisfied by touch alone. Secret number 3. Sex isn't just physical, it's emotional medicine. I've sat across from hundreds of men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, men who've built companies, raised families, and fought through life's hardest storms. Yet when they speak about intimacy, their voices tremble. Not from weakness, but from a deep, quiet hunger they don't know how to name. They say things like, "Doc, I just don't feel close to anyone anymore," or "I don't even miss sex, I miss being wanted." And behind those words, I can see the truth. What they've really lost isn't desire, it's connection. The kind that makes you feel alive. You see, after 60, intimacy changes shape. It's no longer about the rush of youth, the quick spark, the chase. It's about presence, closeness, and being seen by someone who still believes you matter. But when men lose that emotional layer, when they convince themselves that touch no longer matters, something inside them begins to break down. I've seen it happen more times than I can count. A man withdraws after years of marriage or gives up on dating altogether. He tells himself it's easier this way, that he's fine on his own. But behind closed doors, loneliness starts to eat away at him. His blood pressure rises, his sleep suffers, his appetite fades. His world grows smaller, and soon what began as emotional distance turns into physical decline. That's the price men pay for starving their hearts. Emotional isolation is one of the most dangerous conditions I treat, and it doesn't show up on a blood test. It shows up in silence, in the empty chair across the table, in the man who used to laugh but now just shrugs. Science has proven it again and again. The loss of intimacy triggers a cascade of changes: higher cortisol, weaker immunity, rising inflammation, and an increased risk of heart disease and cognitive decline. Men who stop touching, talking, or reaching out age faster. Their bodies weaken, their moods darken, and their will to live quietly fades. But here's the part that breaks me most. Many of them don't even realize what's happening. They think it's just aging, that they're supposed to feel numb, tired, disconnected. But it's not aging, it's absence. The absence of touch, of affection, of emotional nourishment that the body still craves, no matter how many birthdays you've had. I've seen men recover from depression not with a pill, but with a hug, a hand held, a genuine conversation that reminded them they were still human, still worthy of being loved. Intimacy in its truest form is medicine. It heals the mind, the heart, and even the body. So if you've pulled away, if you've convinced yourself that closeness doesn't matter anymore, I'm asking you to reconsider. Reach out to your partner, reconnect with a friend, allow yourself to feel again. Because the moment you stop trying to connect is the moment you start to disappear. And if that realization feels heavy, wait until you hear what's coming next. Because the next truth reveals a modern trap. One that's stealing connection, rewiring desire, and quietly destroying male confidence from the inside out. And it's something almost every older man has fallen into without even realizing it. Secret number 4. Porn and unrealistic expectations are quietly killing senior confidence. There's something most men don't want to talk about, yet almost every man over 60 has faced it in some way. Late at night, when the house is quiet, they turn to a screen, not out of lust, but out of loneliness. It's private, convenient, and for a moment, it feels like connection. But I've spent 30 years working with men, and I've seen what this habit really does over time. It doesn't heal loneliness, it deepens it. It doesn't bring back confidence, it steals it. I once treated a man named Walter, a retired Navy veteran, tough as nails on the outside but broken inside. He confessed that he hadn't touched his wife in years. We just drifted apart, he said, but when I asked more, the truth emerged. What started as occasional adult videos during lonely nights became a daily escape. Over time, he found himself comparing the women on screen to his wife, their bodies, their reactions, their youth. Real life began to feel dull. The same man who once adored his wife now found her touch unfamiliar, even irritating. That's the quiet poison of pornography. It trains the brain to crave fantasy over reality, perfection over presence. And the cost? It's devastating. Your brain's reward system rewires itself. Dopamine, the chemical of pleasure, spikes during those artificial highs, but soon it takes more and more stimulation to feel the same excitement. The result is a kind of emotional numbness. Touch from a real person doesn't register the same way anymore. You need more intensity, more novelty, more illusion to feel alive. It's like building tolerance to a drug, except this one doesn't just affect your body, it rewires your soul. I've seen men lose all interest in their partners, unable to perform without a screen. Some confess they can't climax unless they're watching. Others spiral into guilt and shame, trapped in a cycle they never meant to start. But the real danger isn't just in what you see, it's in what you stop feeling. Pornography numbs empathy, dulls intimacy, and creates a false sense of control. You begin to view your partner not as a person, but as a performance. You stop showing up emotionally, and soon your partner stops reaching out altogether. I've watched marriages crumble not because of infidelity, but because a screen replaced touch and silence replaced conversation. The loneliness that follows is colder than any bed could ever be. The price men pay is steep: emotional isolation, loss of confidence, erectile dysfunction, and in many cases, depression. Their hearts grow heavy, their relationships fracture, and their self-worth dissolves under the weight of guilt. What was once a simple escape becomes a prison of habit, one that steals joy from real life. But here's the hope I want you to remember. It's never too late to reclaim what's real. When men step away from the screen, even for a few weeks, something incredible happens. Their energy returns, their senses sharpen, their desire for true connection reignites. Real intimacy, imperfect and human, starts to feel alive again. And if you think this emotional rewiring is powerful, wait until you hear what comes next. Because the next truth isn't about what you watch, it's about what you do. It's a dangerous mistake that many men make when trying to prove they've still got it. And for some, that one mistake becomes the last they ever make. Secret number 5, the most dangerous time to have sex is when you feel you have something to prove. There's a moment I see in so many men, a flicker of pride that turns deadly. It happens when they feel good about themselves again, maybe after a clean doctor's report or a compliment from a friend. They stand taller, feel younger, and think, I've still got it. That's when the danger begins. Because in that moment of confidence, that rush of nostalgia, many older men make the same fatal mistake. They try to prove their manhood instead of protect their life. I'll never forget Leonard. He was 74, charming, healthy-looking, full of energy. He had started dating a younger woman and came into my office one afternoon grinning ear to ear. "Doc," he joked, "I've got to keep up with her." I smiled but warned him. His heart wasn't as strong as it used to be, and sex at his age was more than pleasure. It was exercise. Real, demanding exercise. He nodded, laughed, and brushed it off. 2 weeks later, he collapsed in a hotel room. Cardiac arrest. His date called for help, but by the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. Leonard's heart simply couldn't handle the pressure of that night. He didn't die because of passion. He died because of pride. That story haunts me because it's not rare. Every year I hear of men who push their bodies too far in the heat of proving something. To themselves, to a partner, to time itself. They skip medications, mix enhancement pills with alcohol, ignore warning signs, and force their hearts to do what they did at 30. But your heart isn't 30 anymore. Sex raises your heart rate, expands your blood vessels, and demands oxygen just like running up a hill. For a man with hidden heart disease, that hill becomes a cliff. One misstep, one rush of adrenaline, and the body gives out. It's not just tragic, it's preventable. The price men pay for their ego in these moments is enormous. I've counseled widows who lost their husbands in bed, their grief masked by shame. I've treated men who survived such episodes but could never look at intimacy the same way again, haunted by fear and guilt. Some lose not just their health, but their confidence, their relationships, and their will to try again. The emotional fallout can be as destructive as the physical. Because when you treat sex like a performance, you forget that intimacy isn't about proving you're young. It's about honoring that you've lived. The truth is, slowing down isn't surrender. It's wisdom. Preparing your body, pacing your energy, breathing deeply, communicating openly, these aren't signs of weakness, they're signs of mastery. A man who respects his body's limits doesn't lose power, he gains it. He becomes present, grounded, alive. That's what real masculinity looks like at this stage of life. It's not in how fast or how long, it's in how deeply you connect, how consciously you care, how courageously you choose presence over pride. So before you try to prove anything, pause. Ask yourself, am I trying to connect or am I trying to compete with my own past? Because one choice leads to love, the other to loss. And if that truth feels heavy, what comes next will take you even deeper. Because the next lesson isn't about danger, it's about discovery. It's about how your body, your mind, and even your soul can still awaken to a level of pleasure and peace you never knew in your younger years, if you understand how to unlock it. Secret number 6, the real reason. Older men lose desire and how to reignite it. There's something I see again and again in men over 60. They come into my office not complaining about pain, not about performance, but about something they can't quite name. "Doc," they'll say quietly, "I just don't feel like myself anymore." The fire's gone, they think it's age or hormones or simply the way life goes. But what they don't realize is that desire doesn't die. It just gets buried. Buried under stress, under loneliness, under the years of putting everyone else first. One of my patients, Charles, 68, was a retired teacher who loved his wife deeply but hadn't felt desire in years. "It's not her," he said, "it's me. I just don't feel anything anymore." When I ran his labs, his testosterone was low, but not dangerously so. The real issue wasn't just physical, it was emotional exhaustion. Years of financial worry, caretaking his aging parents, and silently battling depression had drained his body of vitality. The human body is smarter than most men realize. When it senses chronic stress or sadness, it shuts down the systems that aren't essential for survival, including sexual desire. That's the hidden price many older men pay. They confuse emotional depletion for physical decline, and instead of healing, they numb themselves with TV, alcohol, or silence. But here's the hard truth. When you stop nurturing your desire, you start aging faster. Low desire is more than a loss of passion. It's a signal of a deeper imbalance. Studies show that men with low libido have higher rates of depression, weaker immune systems, and greater risk of cardiovascular disease. Their relationships suffer, their confidence fades, and little by little their sense of identity slips away. But here's the beautiful part. Desire can be reignited. When Charles began walking daily, eating better, sleeping deeply, and most importantly, talking honestly with his wife about his fears, something extraordinary happened. He started feeling alive again. His energy rose, his eyes brightened, and one day he told me, "Doc, I didn't just get my desire back, I got myself back." That's what most men don't realize. Intimacy begins long before the bedroom. It begins with how you live, how you breathe, and how you treat your body. When you nourish yourself physically and emotionally, your body responds with vitality. When you stop living in survival mode, desire returns, naturally, powerfully, and without shame. So if you've lost your spark, don't give up. Don't settle for numbness. Because underneath the fatigue and the fear, your fire is still there, waiting for air. And if this truth feels like a wake-up call, what comes next might surprise you even more. Because in the next secret, I'll reveal how one simple daily habit, something every man does without thinking, can either strengthen or slowly destroy his sexual vitality. And most men have been doing it wrong their entire lives. Secret number 7. The way you breathe can destroy or save your virility. It might sound unbelievable, but after more than 3 decades as a men's health specialist, I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The way you breathe can determine how well your body performs, in every sense of the word. Most men think about diet, exercise, and medication when it comes to health, but they completely overlook the one thing their body does 20,000 times a day, breathing. And yet it's one of the most powerful and most dangerous habits when done wrong. I remember a patient named Robert, 66, a retired engineer who came to me complaining of fatigue, poor sleep, and declining sexual performance. He was healthy on paper, no serious conditions, no major medications. But when I observed him, I noticed something instantly. He breathed through his mouth, shallow and fast, even while talking. It was subtle, but it told me everything. That kind of breathing keeps the body in a constant state of stress. It elevates cortisol, raises blood pressure, and limits oxygen flow to vital organs, including those responsible for sexual function. You see, proper breathing isn't just about oxygen, it's about balance. Deep, slow nasal breathing activates your parasympathetic nervous system, the part of your body that promotes relaxation, blood flow, and arousal. Shallow breathing does the opposite. It triggers the fight or flight response, redirecting blood away from your extremities and into your core. That means less circulation where you need it most, less oxygen reaching your heart, your brain, and yes, your manhood. The price for this mistake is steep. Men who live in a constant state of shallow breathing experience chronic fatigue, anxiety, erectile dysfunction, and even heart rhythm irregularities. They can't sleep deeply, their blood pressure remains high, and their arteries lose elasticity. Over time, the lack of oxygen accelerates aging on a cellular level. It's like slowly suffocating from the inside, one unnoticed breath at a time. I taught Robert a simple practice: 5 minutes of deep nasal breathing every morning and every night. He laughed at first. "Doc, how's breathing going to fix that?" But within 2 weeks, his energy began to rise. His mood stabilized. Within 2 months, his erections returned naturally without any pills. When he came back for a follow-up, he said something I'll never forget. "I didn't need more medicine. I just needed more oxygen." That's when it hit me. Most older men are drowning in stress but starving for air. They spend decades tightening their bodies, holding their breath, clenching their jaws, and wondering why they feel anxious, weak, or numb. But the truth is, your breath is your foundation. Every slow inhale repairs, every controlled exhale calms. The moment you relearn how to breathe deeply, you start to heal from the inside out. So tonight, before bed, pause and take 10 slow, deep breaths through your nose. Feel your chest rise, your shoulders relax, your heart rate slow. That simple act can change your body more than any pill ever will. And if you think something as simple as breathing can affect your health this deeply, wait until you hear the final secret. Because in the next one, I'll show you how the single most dangerous emotion men carry, the one they never talk about, can silently destroy their bodies, their relationships, and even their will to live. Secret number 8, the silent emotion that destroys a man's health more than any disease: shame. If there's one emotion I've seen destroy more men's lives than heart disease, diabetes, or even cancer, it's shame. Not the kind you see on someone's face, but the quiet kind, the one that hides behind smiles, humor, and silence. I've met thousands of men in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who carry it like a weight they can't set down. Shame about aging, shame about needing help, shame about not being the man they once were. And that shame doesn't just live in the mind, it poisons the body. I remember a man named Henry, 73, a proud veteran, father of 3, still strong in appearance. But behind his firm handshake, I could feel something heavy. He confessed after a long pause, "Doc, I feel useless. I can't do what I used to do. I can't please my wife. I feel like half a man." He said it with a trembling voice, the kind that only comes from years of holding everything inside. What he didn't realize was that those words reflected the disease eating away at him, not in his heart or prostate, but in his spirit. That self-blame was driving up his blood pressure, spiking his cortisol, draining his testosterone, and robbing his will to live. The price of shame is brutal. It raises stress hormones that harden arteries and weaken immunity. It robs men of sleep and accelerates memory loss. It suffocates joy, isolates relationships, and fuels depression. I've seen men with healthy hearts die younger than their peers simply because they couldn't forgive themselves for not being perfect. They carried the silent belief that asking for help was weakness, that vulnerability was unmanly. But here's the truth that most never hear. The strongest thing a man can do is face his truth without shame. The real strength isn't pretending you're invincible, it's having the courage to be honest, to say, "I'm struggling," and to seek help before it's too late. When Henry finally let go of that guilt and started talking, really talking to his wife, something miraculous happened. His blood pressure dropped, his energy returned. They rediscovered each other not through performance, but through presence. He told me later, "Doc, I thought I needed pills. What I needed was peace." And that's the secret most men miss. Healing doesn't start in the body, it starts in the heart, with self-forgiveness, compassion, and truth. If you're listening right now and you've been carrying that same quiet shame, I want you to hear me clearly. You are not broken. You are not done. You are a man who's still living, still capable of love, still deserving of connection. The years behind you don't define you. It's what you choose to do with the ones ahead that matters. And as we move into the final part of this message, I want you to stay with me, because everything you've heard, every secret, every truth, comes together in one powerful conclusion. In the end, what I'm about to share could mean the difference between merely surviving the years ahead and truly living them with purpose, love, and vitality. Conclusion: what you know now can save you. After decades of listening to men bare their hearts behind closed doors, I can tell you this: aging doesn't take your strength, your desire, or your manhood. Silence does. Ignorance does. Shame does. What you've just heard aren't just lessons, they are lifelines. Every one of these 8 truths was written in the stories of real men who waited too long, who thought they were alone, or who believed that time had already stolen the best parts of them. But the truth, my friend, is that it's never too late to reclaim your vitality, your intimacy, and your peace of mind. You now know that spontaneity, the thing you once wore like a badge of youth, is not the same as intimacy. True connection after 60 doesn't just happen, it's built with intention, care, and communication. You've learned that an erection is more than a sign of virility. It's a signal from your heart, a whisper from your arteries asking for help before it's too late. You've seen how the absence of emotional closeness can break the spirit faster than any illness, and how pornography quietly erodes the very confidence it promises to give. You've been reminded that proving yourself in the bedroom isn't strength, it's risk. That breath is not just air, it's life, and the way you take it in can either fuel or destroy your vitality. You've seen how desire doesn't die with age, it only hides when we stop nurturing ourselves. And finally, you face the hardest truth of all, that shame, that quiet, corrosive guilt so many men carry, can kill you faster than disease if you let it. But here's what gives me hope. Every man has the power to turn it all around. The moment you begin to respect your body, listen to your heart, open your emotions, and release your shame, everything changes. Your blood begins to flow stronger, your energy rises, your confidence rebuilds, and most importantly, you start to feel alive again. Not as the man you used to be, but as the wiser, calmer, more grounded man you were always meant to become. I've seen men in their 70s and 80s rebuild their marriages, restore their health, and reignite their passion simply by understanding these truths and applying them one day at a time. So if something in this message stirred you, if it made you reflect, made you uncomfortable, or made you hope, don't let that feeling fade. Talk to your partner, talk to your doctor, take the walk, make the call, ask the hard question. Because one small act of courage today could mean 10 more years of laughter, love, and life tomorrow. You've already taken the first step by listening, by opening yourself to truth. Now take the next one. Choose to live it. I say this not as your doctor, but as a man who has walked beside thousands of others just like you. You are not done. You are not broken. You are still here, and that means there is still time to heal, to reconnect, to rediscover what it means to be truly alive. So don't fade quietly into the background of your own story. Stand up, breathe deeply, forgive yourself, and live with intention. Because the best years of your life aren't behind you, they're waiting for you to claim them.